Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Movies, Music, and Movie Music. I'm Len Shaffer, again here with David Barrett, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite movies. David, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, this is a movie review part of the podcast, music, movies, and movie music, and kind of like our version of Siskel and Ebert, reviewing movies, actors, directors, stories. And we're going to start off with a great one called Deep Cover. Now, this stars Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum, and it's directed by an actor turned director named Bill Duke. Now, Bill Duke's probably most famous role as an actor is Predator, the first one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a great actor. He's in many other movies, so look up Bill Duke. But as a director, he did Deep Cover, Hoodlum, A Rage in Harlem, and some other movies. But this movie is kind of against type for Jeff Goldblum because he plays a lawyer who becomes a coke dealer and a gangster type. And Lawrence Fishburne is an undercover police officer who is trying to bring down the cocaine supplier that Jeff Goldblum goes through. And it's an amazing movie. It's a very street type movie film with lots of violence. And I just love undercover cop movies like Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco. I think that is the best mob movie ever made. I love that one. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It's not only a mob movie, but the undercover police officer factor,
right?
Which is what Lawrence does in this one.
And what year did that come out? Do you know?
This was like, I want to say maybe 96 or 97.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but amazing movie. Again, directed by Bill Duke, Lawrence Fishburne, Jeff Goldblum. Again, Deep Cover. One of the best in the undercover cop genre, for sure. So there you go. See it sometime on all the streaming services, I guess, these days. But there's the DVD.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the first one I want to talk about, actually, before I even start talking about a new movie, I want to just follow up a little bit on our last one where I talked about a movie called Running on Empty, which I said was probably my top 10, or at least top 20 of all time. One little tidbit about that I thought was interesting I meant to share, I'll just share it here, which is that it was written by a woman named Naomi Foner, Foner, who is the mother of Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal. So I thought that was kind of an interesting tidbit about Running on Empty. But the first movie I want to talk about today is called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? A movie from 1969 with with Jane Fonda, Bonnie Bedelia, and Bruce Dern. And it was directed by Sidney Pollack, who I'm sure everybody knows. And They Shoot Horses, Don't They? It's a very depressing movie, but it's brilliantly made. It's about a marathon dance contest in 1932. During the Depression, they had a lot of these marathon dance contests where people who were desperate for money would, enter this competition, and you had to dance as long as you could, and whoever was left standing at the end was the winner and won a little bit of money. They didn't even win a huge amount. I mean, it's really a brutal kind of thing and very exploitative and kind of an awful thing, but they were big for a while. I think these marathon dance contests were finally outlawed in 1939. But anyway, so this movie is about one of those contests. And one of the interesting things about They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Is it has the record, and it still has the record, for the most Oscar nominations without being nominated for Best Picture, which is really kind of bizarre. They had 9 nominations, including Fonda for Best Actress, Gig Young for Best Supporting Actor, and he actually won. He was the only one of the 9 to win. And Susanna York for Best Supporting Actress and Sidney Pollack for Best Director. So how on earth could they have all of those nominations and not get nominated for Best Picture? It seems very strange.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is it comments about the wealth gap and about the class system and all of that stuff. And this was made, as I said, in 1969, but it might as well be made today because our wealth gap is bigger than ever. So one thing about this is kind of funny. It was actually shown in the USSR as an example of the evils of American capitalism. So I'm sure they didn't intend that when they made the movie, and they had actually it was originally a novella written years earlier. Um, and it took 35 years before the novella was made into a film. And some of the people that had been interested in making it earlier were Charlie Chaplin, Francois Truffaut. Chaplin actually had wanted to cast Marilyn Monroe in the lead part, the Jane Fonda part. And if Monroe had played that, let's say in 1952, her career might have taken a totally different, direction, because it was a very dramatic, intense part, and that was the kind of part she dreamed of playing and never got a chance to play. So it's really sad that she didn't get that opportunity. Just checking my notes here, see if there's anything else in particular I want to share about it. One of the things about this film is that it was shot in sequence, which is very unusual. Most films, you get a scene here, a scene there. You might get something from the end of the film, and then they'll shoot something from the middle, and it's all out of sequence. I know as an actor, one of the things I like better about theater is that you're doing it in sequence. So I think it would have been nice to actually film this one in sequence. Roger Ebert actually rated it 4 out of 4 stars and called it one of the best films of the 70s. As I said, it was made in 1969, but it actually came out in 1970, which is why he said that. But anyway, it is a hard movie to watch, in some ways kind of similar to Midnight Cowboy, which also was 1969 and won Best Picture that year and was one of the most depressing movies ever made, but is also brilliant, like this one. Great acting, great direction, very compelling story. It'll definitely keep you interested. So check out They Shoot Horses, Don't They?
I want to bring up one thing about Bruce Dern, who, if you don't know, is the father of Laura Dern, and
right,
such an accomplished actor. I met the man in San Jose at one of these comic conventions, and boy, what a career this guy's had, and he's still around, and he's just fantastic. Look up really anything Bruce Dern does. The guy's pretty great. I know one comedy that comes to mind. You might remember The Burbs.
Oh, yeah.
With Tom Hanks.
That was a good movie.
He was like the crazy neighbor, the war veteran neighbor, or whatever.
I mean, right? Bruce Dern has had a pretty wide variety of parts. I mean, he did this movie Nebraska a few years ago. He was nominated for Best Actor, and I think he was in his 80s, and he's kind of the irascible old man, but he plays it so well.
Yeah.
He's a very, very good actor. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the next one I'm going to go into is the last time I talked about my love for English actors and how they lose the accent, they just go into these parts. And Christian Bale, who's one of the finer actors of our generation, this is a movie that's so under the radar called Harsh Times. And it's written and directed by David Ayer, who wrote and directed, he wrote Training Day. He didn't direct it. He wrote and directed Sabotage with Schwarzenegger, end of the Jake Gyllenhaal movie about the cops. I want to say it was end of something, but he also is behind this movie Street Kings that I'll later review. He wrote and directed that. He's a white guy who grew up in L.A., and all the movies he writes about is either dirty cop movies or undercover cop movies or street gang stuff, and he's really good at it. Anyway, Christian Bale, after he did he signed a 3-movie deal with for Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, so he was already an established star, as most of you all know from American Psycho and some other movies. But once he signed this deal, he did the first Batman Begins, and he really could have taken any role, especially a easy romantic comedy role. But he chose to do this one, of all movies, because he speaks Spanish in most of the movie. He's running around with him and his friend, who's reunited after many years, and they just start selling drugs and carjacking gangsters and robbing them. And it's just a role that you just would never think any English actor, especially Christian Bale coming off Batman Begins. And like I said, instead of doing some easy, safe romantic comedy, he does this like LA street movie called Harsh Times. And I'm telling you, you want to see Christian Bale display some serious acting that's beyond anything you ever thought you'd see from the guy. This is it. Again, Harsh Times, Freddie Rodriguez, Eva Mendes, Christian Bale, directed and written by David Ayer. Look him up because you won't be disappointed, especially if that's your kind of movie with like a lot of street violence and L.A. Type atmosphere of a movie. So again, Christian Bale, Harsh Times, yeah.
Okay, yeah, another very versatile actor, Christian Bale.
Oh, for sure. The
quite a
guy's
wide variety. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man, still going today, and we probably haven't seen his best work yet.
Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is called The Legend of 1900. For those of you who know about Cinema Paradiso, which was kind of a classic movie maybe 25, 30 years ago, Legend of 1900 is the same director whose name is escaping me at the moment, but it's an entire movie based on a monologue. I mean, we've heard of movies based on novels or based on plays.
Yeah.
This one's, or even based on, musicals or whatever. This is based on a monologue, and yet they managed to make an entire movie out of it. And it stars Tim Roth, who has also had a very interesting career. He was in Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and among many others. And he often plays a gangster or criminal of some kind. But in this one, he plays a really interesting character. His character was originally an abandoned baby that was discovered on this ship on January 1st, 1900. So the guy who discovered him, his name, let's see, I have this in my notes somewhere here. His name was Danny Boodman, the sailor who discovered him. So he named the baby Danny Boodman T.D. Lemon 1900. Very interesting name. And the baby grows up on the ship and becomes a piano prodigy, and he's a brilliant piano player. And one of the interesting things is Tim Roth does not play piano at all. So he actually took 6 months of lessons and training to learn how to fake being a good piano player.
Wow.
Not to even be able to play it, but just to fake it.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And anyway, the character keeps playing it brilliantly, and he becomes a legend. Like, people know him all over the world. And so Jelly Roll Morton, who was a legendary jazz pianist of the time, of the 20s and 30s, he comes on board to challenge 1900 to a piano duel. And that is probably the highlight of the movie, is this piano duel. It is really incredible. If you love music the way we do, I think you would love seeing this piano duel and just seeing the back and forth. Anyway, there's also a wonderful monologue where 1900 talks about why he doesn't really want to go on dry land. He talks about how he loves the piano because there are 88 keys and it's finite, and yet you can make infinite music out of these finite keys. He goes, but when I look at all of this land and all these buildings and streets and everything, it's infinite, and you can't make music out of something that's infinite. And I thought that was really interesting. It's a great monologue. Tim Roth is wonderful in this. And I think I've pretty much summed it up. But yeah, The Legend of 1900, it's really a hidden gem, and it's kind of a beautiful, original, and touching story.
Can I add one thing too about Tim Roth? Is
Sure.
I was talking about that movie Deep Cover, directed by Bill Duke. Bill Duke directs a period piece called Hoodlum with Lawrence Fishburne as Bumpy Johnson, and Tim Roth plays Dutch Schultz, and Andy Garcia plays Lucky Luciano. And
right.
Tim Roth is so not the first person to play Dutch Schultz. James Remar played him in The Cotton Club with Richard Gere, but his portrayal of Dutch Schultz, just amazing. I mean, Tim Roth's range. He did that movie Gridlocked with Tupac before Tupac died.
Right.
And then Reservoir Dogs, which remains to be my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. But see his performance as Dutch Schultz in Hoodlum. You will be totally blown away.
Yeah.
He's a scene stealer in every part of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you turn around and watch Legend of 1900, you're seeing a huge change in the type of character he plays, which is, I mean, that's the lifeblood of actors, right? You love being able to play different kinds of characters.
Isn't he another Brit, too?
I believe he is.
There you go. These
Yeah.
British guys, I'm telling you, like I said last time, Gary Oldman, Christian Bale,
Right.
Malcolm McDowell, Tim Roth. I mean,
Oh, it goes on and on. Yeah.
somehow these
Kenneth
British,
Branagh. Kenneth Branagh's
these
another one.
British guys, they just run the gamut on losing the accent and just
Although I wonder,
totally immersing themselves in these roles.
is Branagh Irish or is he British?
You know,
He might
I'd
be
have
Irish,
to look
I'm
that
not
up,
sure,
but
yeah,
but he's fantastic as well.
Right,
You know,
right.
amazing. So my next one here is this movie Heat. Okay, so one of my favorite actors is Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and in this one too is Val Kilmer, who passed not too long ago, and
right.
rest in peace, Val. But the director, I think it's written and directed by Michael Mann, who created Miami Vice, and this is an amazing thing in cinema because they bring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro together. I want to say they were together in The Godfather too, but they didn't have any scenes together. This is the first time where they actually have a scene together. Later on, they did a movie together where they both played cops in search of a killer. And just an amazing movie. This movie, Heat. I met Tom Sizemore at one of these conventions in Las Vegas before he passed away. Tom Sizemore's in this movie. All-star cast. I mean, Henry Rollins, the singer, is in this movie. Tone Loc, the rapper. They're all acting in this movie. And Danny Trejo, John Voight is in this movie. I mean,
wow.
It is a stacked cast.
That is
and
quite
again,
a cast, yeah.
it's about a crew of bank robbers who do a bunch of bank robberies. And Al Pacino is the cop hot on their trail, can't keep his marriage together because he's so immersed in his work as a police officer trying to bring down the bank heist guys, played by De Niro. And it's amazing. Even the guy from Silence of the Lambs, who's also in Monk, he's in this movie as Al Pacino's like right-hand man. Amazing movie. Heat, again, Michael Mann, and Val Kilmer, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and such a fantastic movie. Again, if you like, bank heist movies and cops hot on the trail to get their guys and put them away, this is the one. Heat, Michael Mann, and everybody. So check that out if you haven't already.
Okay, I'm going to talk about a movie that is, to me, one of the most unique movies I've ever seen. It's really original. It's a completely original story, which, as we all know, is very rare. It's the old joke that there are only 7 different plot lines and they just recycle them, right?
So
well,
true.
This one is totally different. There's nothing else like it. It's from 2002 and it's called Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. And nice. Kiefer Sutherland is also in it, although Kiefer Sutherland is a voice for 99% of the movie. So, and by the way, is there anyone in Hollywood who's better at playing a villain than Kiefer Sutherland? I mean, He is an absolute master of it, and he's brilliant as always in this. So the storyline basically has it that, and also, by the way, Forrest Whitaker and Katie Holmes are in this movie as well. The entire film was shot in only 10 days, with 2 days for exterior shots. And it's all in one setting, which is this phone booth. So you'd think, like, how interesting can that be?
Right.
It is an edge-of-your-seat thriller. So Farrell is this kind of slick New York, I forget what his job is exactly. He's like a PR agent or something, and he's really kind of superficial and doesn't treat people very well. And he's passing this phone booth and it's ringing. And so, of course, he's curious. And plus, he thinks he's due for his mistress to call him. So he thinks it might be his mistress calling. So he answers the phone. And Kiefer Sutherland says that he has a high-powered rifle aimed at the phone booth and that if he leaves the phone booth, he's going to kill him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I won't go into too many details because I don't want to do spoilers on this. But one of the things that's interesting about this is, as with the movie They Shoot Horses, Don't They? This movie was also shot in sequence, which is very unusual. But these are 2 of the movies where they did that. But in addition, it's shot in real time. It's actually a short movie. It's 81 minutes. And the entire movie takes place over 81 minutes. So
oh, wow.
That's kind of interesting, that too. So let's see what else I want to talk about on this. The screenwriter, Larry Cohen, actually originally pitched the idea of a film that takes place entirely in a phone booth to Hitchcock in the 60s. And Hitchcock really liked the idea, but neither of them could figure out how to build a story around a phone around a movie entirely taking place in a phone booth. And it wasn't until 30 years later that Cohen came up with the idea of having this sniper trained on it. And they really couldn't have waited much longer, because I think at the time they shot this in 2001 or 2, there were only 4 phone booths left in all of New York. So they actually filmed in one of the remaining 4 phone booths, and I don't think you'd find any now, probably. But let's see, anything else?
It reunites Joel Schumacher with Kiefer Sutherland from Lost Boys.
Right.
I want to say Joel Schumacher, the great movie director, did everything from Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, to Lost Boys, to
right.
What was that movie with Bruce Willis and the kid?
Oh, Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Great. One of my favorite movies. Another one of my favorites.
And Kiefer, some other notable bad guy roles. I mean, he plays the hero, of course, as you know, in the 24 TV show. And, you know, he has played a lot of heroes and good guys in his career, but he plays like a KKK member in A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey.
And he's in that one of Reese Witherspoon's first movies, Freeway, where he was a serial killer. And he's just really terrifying in that.
Yeah. And then, as you all know, David, the vampire in Lost Boys. And probably forgetting a few more, but Kiefer's, he never disappoints. And one last thing is there's one of the last movies his dad, Donald Sutherland, did before he died is a Western. And Kiefer and his dad have been in movies, the same movies, but never in the scene before. So this last movie that Donald did, they played father and son, so they were actually in scenes together. I don't recall the name of this Western, but just Google Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland Western. It'll pop up, and I'm just glad that they got to work together before he died, and, you know, it's such a great thing. I'm going to go to the next movie is this road rage movie with Russell Crowe. It's called Unhinged. And it's a different role for Russell. You know, again, a guy who usually plays the heroes and the good guy. You know, we know him from Gladiator, so many other movies. If you don't already know, too, with the music and film connection, is that he's a guitar player and a singer for his own band. You know, I think the 40 Odd Grunts or something. But yeah, he's a musician in real life, and he plays this road rage guy who road rages with his family and then ends up stalking them throughout the whole movie. And he gained a ton of weight for this movie, and he's totally in this psychotic character part. Again, Unhinged, fantastic role, and something that you'd probably be surprised seeing Russell Crowe doing. And again, check him out. He's a musician as well. Again, Unhinged, for all you lovers of the genre of road rage psychological thrillers. This is it.
You know, Russell Crowe's career has been quite interesting. And one of the first parts he played when he was first getting started was as a gay character in an Australian film. And I can't, off the top of my head, remember the name of the film, but completely different kind of parts. So
wow.
He's
I never knew that.
quite a range, too. Yeah. And he's very good in it. I've seen the movie, but it's a small Australian film. Anyway, so I want to talk about the first time I ever saw Gwyneth Paltrow in a movie. I think I might have seen her in other movies where she had a small part, but it's the first time where she really stood out to me. And it's a movie from 1998 called Sliding Doors. And I love the premise of this movie. So the premise is she's in London. And by the way, her British accent is so perfect that I was surprised later to find out that she was not British, because she's so spot on with it. But she plays this character who's rushing home. She's just been fired at work, and she's really upset, and she's rushing home and tries to catch the subway train, or what do you call it, the tube. Tries to catch the train in the tube and barely misses it. And or maybe the first one she barely catches it. Anyway, the movie ends up showing 2 parallel stories, one in which she barely catches the train and one in which she barely misses it. And it shows how different her life is, you know, based on that one train. And I thought about, you know, I think we've probably all had a lot of close calls in our lives, you know, where you were almost hit by a car or almost hit somebody or almost did something. And you kind of wonder, like, how different would my life have been? I mean, I think about one time where I barely missed someone in my car, and I think just, you know, obviously just the guilt would have been overwhelming. I can't even imagine. And I think about how different my life would have been, you know, having to go through with the police and all of that. And I missed him by, you know, a couple of feet or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what makes this movie so fascinating is the what ifs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the first one, like when she catches the train, she catches her husband having an affair. But when she doesn't catch the train, she goes on being oblivious that he's having an affair. And I won't go into any more spoilers, but...
What year did this come out?
1998.
Okay.
And let me just see if there's anything else I want to say in that. One other thing that I love about this movie is the soundtrack. It has a tremendous soundtrack. The most famous song from the movie is by Dido. It's called "Thank You." I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life. Right? That's when that song came out, and I saw Dido in concert once. By the way, nice. Phenomenal. Not only a gorgeous voice, but gorgeous person and great personality and funny and charming. Just it was one of the best concerts I've been to. But yeah, the soundtrack is great. There's also a song by Jamiroquai, who I think you've brought up before, right?
Love him.
The Elton John song "A Honky Cat" is in the movie. So even if you're not going to get a chance to see the movie Sliding Doors, I highly recommend you check out the soundtrack. It's definitely
he does a cover of.
No, the Elton John song is in it. The Honky Cat song.
But it's an original Jamiroquai.
Jamiroquai, I don't know which song Jamiroquai does.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
But if you don't know already, Len and I had an extensive conversation about our mutual love for female singers, and there's another one. She's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Wasn't Gwyneth from a famous Hollywood family?
She was. Her mother was, what's her name? I can picture it. I'm totally spacing on her mother's name. Her mother had been a big star in the 60s and early 70s. And
okay.
I'm sure you would know the name, and if I could think of it, I would. But
yeah,
not thinking of it at the moment. But yeah, she definitely came from a Hollywood family for sure.
Cool. And we're on to the next one. Here is one of my all-time favorites. I have to say, a favorite actor of mine for many, many years. Almost everything this man has done is gold. From Pope of Greenwich Village to him playing the villain in Iron Man 2. So many others. We're talking about Mickey Rourke.
Right.
Probably one of his best movies called Barfly, which co-stars Faye Dunaway. And Sylvester Stallone's brother, Frank Stallone, as the bartender that's always fighting with Mickey Rourke's character. That's Charles Bukowski. It's one of the couple stories that was put to film, and Mickey Rourke plays that guy who's a writer, but he's a total alcoholic and hangs out at the bar, hence the title Barfly. Faye Dunaway is perfect in this movie. Mickey Rourke, totally into character, and Frank Stallone just has a few scenes in the movie, but a total scene stealer. Directed by
Barbet Schroeder, or is it Barbet Schroeder?
Barbet Schroeder, who co-wrote Taxi Driver, went on to direct other movies, even that one with Nicolas Cage, David Caruso, and Sam Jackson. It's just an incredible filmmaker. I'm telling you, of anything that Mickey Rourke has done besides Pope of Greenwich Village, this movie, he's such a fantastic actor. I mean, the guy is... in this one movie called Animal Factory, a prison movie directed by Steve Buscemi, all-star cast, William Dafoe, Edward Furlong. Mickey Rourke plays a transvestite in prison who's in full girl drag with the painted toenails. And just to give you an example of like how Mickey can go from extreme macho, villainous bad guy to the hero. And he was in Angel Heart with Robert De Niro. Right. I mean, the guy's run the gamut.
And he did The Wrestler recently.
Exactly, The Wrestler, fantastic movie. But really, see this movie, Barfly, it's so good. I'm telling you, Mickey at his all-time best. Love this movie.
Great. Yeah. So the next one I want to talk about is actually, I'm going to go back to one of the legendary Hollywood stars of the 30s and 40s. Last time I talked about James Stewart or Jimmy Stewart, who was one of my favorites. I'm going to talk about another one today, and that's Spencer Tracy. What Spencer Tracy was probably most known for were his movies with Katharine Hepburn. They actually made an amazing 9 movies together, and they were good friends in real life, not romantic, but good friends. But I'm actually not going to talk about any of those 9 movies, even though they're all very good. And if you want to do a deeper dive into Spencer Tracy, I would definitely recommend checking out some of his films with Hepburn, including like Adam's Rib, where they play a married couple that are opposed to each other in a court case, which is very, very fun. And Woman of the Year is a good one too. But I want to talk about a few of his other movies, and I'm going to start with one that's from quite a while ago, Captains Courageous. Kind of a strange name. You would think it would be called Captains or Courageous, but it's plural, Captains Courageous. It's from 1937, and it's based on a Rudyard Kipling novel. It's about a spoiled rich kid who, played by Bartholomew. I forget his first name, Bartholomew, but the kid is great in this movie. Probably about 10 years old, and he is on this luxury yacht, and he, is used to having everything go his way, and is definitely spoiled. And he falls overboard and gets rescued by a Portuguese fishing boat with the Portuguese fisherman, or the captain of the fishing boat, played by Spencer Tracy. And the one negative I would say about this movie is, let's say, Spencer Tracy's Portuguese accent is not exactly what one would call convincing. Mm-hmm. It's pretty scary, but that's the only negative. If you can get past that minor detail, he did win Best Actor in the Academy Awards for it anyway, despite his accent, because his part is beautiful. And it's kind of a formulaic story, spoiled rich kid gets stuck on this fishing boat and has to work with the crew, and they put him to work, and he's there for 3 months, and he gradually evolves. So you could say, okay, we've all seen that kind of story a million times, but they tell it so beautifully, and the characters are so well defined. Mickey Rooney's in it as well, as is Lionel Barrymore. Just see if there's anything else here. Let's see. All right, it's directed by Victor Fleming, who also directed most of The Wizard of Oz and actually left The Wizard of Oz to direct Gone with the Wind. How's that for a 1-2 punch? Wow. So he's the director. And
history.
Yeah, and Tracy actually not only won the Oscar for Best Actor for this film, but then he followed it up the next year, winning Best Actor again for Boys Town, which is also a really wonderful film. But and one of the best things about the film is that it was one of the first films that actually treated a black character with respect. He was a stereotypical cook on the boat, on the fishing boat, but he was treated with respect by the entire crew and considered one of the crew members. And he actually was bilingual, spoke Portuguese and English. So that was, as we all know, extremely rare in 1937. So that's something really to be said.
How times have changed since then.
Yeah.
With the movie Sinners winning 16 Oscars.
It's true. And, you could never have predicted that in the 30s. But
it seems like Hollywood has definitely turned to really seem to be supporting a lot just for the sake of people of color in movies. But hey, here we are.
I think you could argue that it's balanced now, and it's finally balanced, which is great. But yeah, so the movie is Captains Courageous. So that's one of his movies. The next one I want to talk about for Spencer Tracy is called Bad Day at Black Rock. It's from 1955, so we're going forward 18 years now. And Tracy plays a one-armed man who gets off a train in a small California desert town, and he is greeted extremely hostilely by the people of the town. For example, they refuse to give him a hotel room. He wants to rent a car at the garage. They refuse to rent him a car. And you start wondering what is going on with these people. And also, why is he here? Why is this complete stranger going to this small town in the middle of nowhere? Some of the other people in the cast include Lee Marvin, Walter Brennan, and Ernest Borgnine. Directed by John Sturges, who also directed classics like The Magnificent Seven and Gunfight at the OK Corral. And yet Sturges said that of all the movies he directed, Bad Day at Black Rock was his favorite. The film works kind of as a mystery, a thriller, and is also an important social commentary. So definitely worth checking out. There's some things that would still apply today. So from 1955, Bad Day at Black Rock. So the third Tracy film I want to talk about is Inherit the Wind. This one I talked about, David interviewed me about my career as an actor, singer, songwriter, and piano player. And I talked about being in a play, Inherit the Wind, where I got to play one of the best parts I've ever played. But this one I'm talking about is from 1960, and it's the movie of Inherit the Wind. This is based on a true story that took place in 1925 in the small town of Scopes, Tennessee. Tennessee had a law that you were not allowed to teach evolution in school. And this teacher in Scopes broke the law and got arrested for it. So the prosecution, and this is the true story, prosecution brought in this high-powered prosecutor who had been a 4-time presidential candidate. One of the most famous people in the country, his name was William Jennings Bryan, and he was a fundamentalist preacher, and they brought him in to prosecute the case. So a big town paper, I think it might have been the Chicago Tribune, but I'm not sure about that. A big town newspaper hired the best defense attorney in the country, Clarence Darrow, to come and represent this teacher. And it became what was known, the most famous trial in the country, and it was called the Scopes Monkey Trial because it was about evolution. So that's what this movie is based on. The movie is somewhat fictionalized, but a lot of the issues still remain the same. And given our current climate and what's going on in DC, a lot of the issues about religion versus science, you could say, is quite timely even today. Some of the other cast members, it is a real stellar cast. It has Gene Kelly, Frederick March, Harry Morgan, who later was known as Colonel Potter on MASH, Dick York, who was known later as Samantha's husband in Bewitched, and Norman Fell, who was Mr. Roper on Three's Company. So those are some of the other people in it. Spencer Tracy plays the defense attorney, and Frederick March plays the prosecutor, and Gene Kelly plays this really kind of sarcastic, bitter reporter from the paper that's hired the defense attorney. The trial in the real story became a huge national story. And in fact, the results of the trial were covered on the radio, which was incredibly unusual in 1925, as you can imagine. I think that was either the first time or one of the first times that had ever happened. But it's a very compelling story, and it's actually such a compelling movie that I thought we might do a little scene from it for you to give you a little taste of it. So in this scene, I'm going to be the defense attorney, and David here is going to be the prosecutor, and we'll give you a little taste of Inherit the Wind.
We must not abandon faith. Faith is the most important thing.
Then why did God plague us with the capacity to think? Mr. Brady, why do you deny the one faculty of man that raises him above the other creatures of the earth, the power of his brain to reason? What other merit have we? The elephant is larger, the horse is swifter and stronger, the butterfly is far more beautiful, the mosquito is more prolific, even the simple sponge is more durable. But does a sponge think?
I don't know. I'm a man, not a sponge.
But do you think a sponge thinks?
If the Lord wishes a sponge to think, it thinks.
Do you think a man should have the same privilege as a sponge?
Do you think a man... Of course.
Then this man wishes to have the same privilege as a sponge. He wishes to think.
There you go.
That gives you a little taste. I have one more Spencer Tracy movie I want to talk about, and then we'll turn it over to David for the last movie of the evening. And this one, I think many of you will really love. It's called San Francisco. Anyone from the Bay Area, I think, would really appreciate this movie. It was made in 1936, and it takes place in 1906. So I think you can all probably guess what else takes place in this movie, given that it's 1906 San Francisco. But it also features Clark Gable, pre-Gone with the Wind, and Jeanette MacDonald, who was a fabulous, mostly opera singer, has a great voice, and sings the song that we all know so well, San Francisco, Open Your Golden Gate. That song was written for this movie, so that's when it first came out. And Gable is, he always plays the rogue, and once again, he's the rogue in this film. And he's a bar owner and kind of a degenerate, ladies' man. But he and Spencer Tracy are battling for the affection of Jeanette MacDonald. And I won't go into too much detail about the battle that goes on. But what really made this movie famous, of course, is the earthquake scene. And given that it was made in 1936, or probably made in 35, the special effects are amazing. I mean, what they were able to do, it really looks like an earthquake. I mean, you would never believe that it was faked. In fact, they say this was one of the first movies that would qualify in the disaster genre. They didn't really have that much before that.
Huh.
So, the way that they did it, this is interesting to get into the weeds a little bit. Entire sets were built on hydraulic lifts and shakers, and they were then raised and rocked violently, and that's how they were able to do the earthquake. But they do it, with the buildings falling down and bricks falling on people, and
Wow.
near the end you see all of these people up in, I believe it's Golden Gate Park, or it's one of the parks. They're up looking down on the city, and it's spectacular, and it's really a wonderful movie. It works as a musical, a romance, and a disaster film. And it's also a loving tribute to turn of the century San Francisco. So if you love San Francisco, I think you would love the movie San Francisco.
Cool. And that's before CGI took over.
Yeah, well before
boy,
CGI. Yeah.
That would be something to see if there was some behind the scenes footage to see that hydraulic action.
Right.
I would love to.
Which they probably don't have, I'm
yeah,
guessing, because they
yeah.
probably didn't do much of that behind the scenes stuff
Yeah.
back then. But yeah, it's definitely worth seeing for the earthquake scene alone. But it's also a really, fun film. I mean, anything Clark Gable was in, was always entertaining to watch. So
And the city that we live so close to, we're in the East Bay here, Emeryville, Berkeley, Oakland area, and it's just amazing that even when I lived in Florida, to see all the movies filmed in San Francisco and to see the Golden Gate Bridge, like for instance, A View to a Kill, James Bond,
right.
and Christopher Walken in that, and to see the Golden Gate Bridge and just so many great things about that. So for my last movie, we're going to bring you to the city of Lost Angels, not Los Angeles, called Street Kings. And again, written and directed by David Ayer, who wrote Training Day, didn't direct it. Look him up. He's an amazing writer, director. And this one is with Keanu Reeves. It's called Street Kings. Also, Forrest Whitaker is in it. Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, is in this. Hugh Laurie, House from the TV show, is in this.
Right.
Rappers The Game and Common acting in this movie. And Forrest Whitaker plays a corrupt lieutenant who has all of his police officers, including Jay Moore, the comedian actor, in a dramatic role as a dirty cop. Keanu Reeves as a dirty cop. Just simply amazing. I mean, I loved Keanu Reeves when I first saw him in a movie called River's Edge with Crispin Glover, Daniel Roebuck, and Ione Skye, Dennis Hopper. Then Keanu, did the great favorite of mine, surfing bank heist movie Point Break with Patrick Swayze.
That was
He's
a
had
good
a
movie.
great career.
Yeah, Point Break, I think, is an underappreciated movie.
For sure.
Yeah.
And he's had, as we know, all the John Wick movies, the Bill and Ted movies, the Matrix movies. But in this movie, he plays like an alcoholic who's just has some demons. His partner got shot in one of their many Call of Duty. It's just amazing. I mean, it is full on dramatic, violent movies. And again, David Ayer is the mastermind behind that, and a different kind of Keanu Reeves. I know everybody's into The Matrix and John Wick and his Bill and Ted's, but I'm telling you, this could very well be the top 3 Keanu Reeves movies. And I know he has the reputation. I've met the guy twice in his band Dog Star. He's a bass player in that band. The nicest celebrity you will ever meet, but he does get the reputation of being like not a great actor. But I'm telling you, this movie will change your mind on his acting chops have elevated to the max. I mean, if you see this movie, you'll see what I mean. Again, Street Kings, Keanu Reeves, Forrest Whitaker, one of the greatest roles ever, villainous lieutenant who's just incredible in this role. So again, Street Kings, and that's the final movie of my stack. Boy, what a great episode, man! And
Yes,
thank you for bringing all these movies to light, because a lot of what Len talks about, I'm out of the loop of. I'm a guy that's more seriously 70s, 80s, and half of kind of the 90s. And but my knowledge of this other stuff, you're really bringing a lot of things that I really have no clue about as far as actors of that time or the movies.
Well,
So thank
what's
you.
interesting
Yeah.
is I started this project maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago, where I decided I was going to watch every movie that had ever won Best Picture.
Hmm.
And I did that. I was able to do that. And then I thought, I'm going to expand it. I'm going to watch every movie that's ever been nominated for Best Picture. And I've seen all but two, one from this last year that I still have to watch, which is called The Secret Agent, and then one from 1929, which is not available anywhere. I've seen every other movie that's been nominated for Best Picture. And I'll tell you, I discovered all of these incredible movies from the 20s, 30s, well, really 30s, 40s, 50s that I would never have watched otherwise. Yeah. So it's a great chance to really expand your horizons to see some of these old ones. And that's, before that, I would have been in the same boat as you. I would have known like late 60s to present. But once I started doing that, just opened my eyes to a lot of brilliance. I mean, they really cared about quality. You can say what you want about the studio system, and there were definitely a lot of problems with it. But boy, they cared about quality. It wasn't just about making a big buck. It wasn't just about the blockbusters. And you really see that. You still see, racism and sexism and, overemphasis of Christianity and some of that kind of stuff. And you have to kind of take that with understanding what it was like in those days. But the quality of those movies, there are just so many great ones from that time period. So I highly recommend, checking out some of these older movies. It's worth it.
And some movies get, like one of my all-time favorite movies, which I'll do a deeper discussion about, is Legends of the Fall with Anthony Hopkins and Brad Pitt. It's a great family movie that just spans decades of family, love and betrayal and loyalty. And but what wins the Best Picture of that year is Forrest Gump, which I'm not saying is a bad movie at all, and I quite enjoyed it. But to me, Legends of the Fall really should have won, the 16 Oscars that Sinners got, because the cinematic, the Montana backdrop that they filmed in. I mean, Brad Pitt should have been won Best Actor. The best film should have been Legends of the Fall. This movie is of epic proportions. I mean, I can't even say as much of how some movies that win Best Picture and a lot of other awards, it doesn't really quite add up. Maybe they're paying a lot of people off on that board. I don't know.
Well, sometimes the nominees are better than the winner. It's true.
Yeah.
But I've found, like in this project that I had, that most of the nominees at least were well deserving. There have definitely been some exceptions, even with the winners, some that I really hated. But I think the overwhelming majority are good choices, at least from the nominations, if not the winners themselves. Anyway, thank you again for watching another episode of Movies, Music, and Movie Music.
Yeah. See you next time.